Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Grab your seats. We're going to get started. I'm Joe Starr, Senior Director of our Collegiate Programs and Head of our Journalism and Communications track. On behalf of our Chairman, Randy Teague, our President, Roger Ream, welcome to the closing ceremony for the Fund for American Studies Summer Class of 2024. Well, congratulations, students. You did it. The journey you've been on for the last 8 weeks has required perseverance, dedication, hard work, and stepping outside your comfort zones. You've accomplished so much, and today we're here to celebrate what you've achieved this summer. So many of you gave it your all and took full advantage of the opportunities presented to you. From your internship, your classes, the guest speakers, site visits, professional development seminars, tours, the mentor program, and so much more. You really ran full speed ahead the entire time, so congratulations on giving it your all. It's been a very historic summer in terms of the news. It's been an exciting time to be in Washington, D.C., and all of you should be very proud of what you've accomplished this summer. I know all of us at Team TFAS are very proud of you. We've heard so many great things about you from your professors, boards of visitors, board members, our speakers, and many other people who came in contact with you throughout the summer. We were very impressed with your demeanor and the way you conducted yourselves, so congratulations. Now, all of us here at TFAS have really enjoyed to get to know you, to see you both strive and thrive this summer. So the hat's off to the TFAS class of 2024. Well, we also hope that you've learned a little bit about yourselves, what you're capable of, what it means to be a leader, to challenge yourself personally, professionally, and intellectually. Now, this is called a closing ceremony, but we promise you it's not an ending, but a beginning. We are proud to welcome you to the ranks of our alumni and the TFAS family. We hope that the strength of the connections you've made this summer will last long after today's ceremony. So, of course, this summer could not have happened without the help of many people. And first and foremost, we want to recognize and thank the parents who have joined us here today. Thank you for sending us your sons and daughters. Thank you for giving them the opportunity to step away from home for the summer and for supporting them along the way. I also want to take the opportunity to thank you, Roger. I also want to take the opportunity to thank our benefactors and our donors. Because of your generosity, many of our students would not be able to be here without your support. So thank you for giving so generously so students come to Washington, D.C. to live, learn, and intern. Thank you so much. Again, I want to thank our Chairman Randy Teague, our President Roger Ream, and all the executive team here at TFAS, Steve Slattery, Shane Mazzella, Michelle Lay, and Rob Callahan. I want to thank our partners at George Mason University, particularly Mark Funstein, the TFAS liaison with George Mason. And I want to thank our Braver Angel debate partners. The Braver Angels debates are debates that we've been having every summer for the last 4 years. And these are specially designed debates that teach students how to talk civilly, to disagree without being disagreeable, and they've become a very central part of our summer program. So I want to thank our partners with the Braver Angels program. And I want our faculty who are here today, I want to thank them for joining us. And again, I want to thank my colleagues on our team that made this summer possible. And again, thank you, students, for being really first-class students, for really just taking the biggest bite out of the apple and really diving into the program. It's been a great summer. We really enjoyed our time. We'll be sad to see you leave, but it's a bittersweet thing. And speaking of bittersweet, I'm going to ask our President Roger Ream to come forward.
Thank you, sweet Joe Stars. Well, let me just, before I make some brief remarks, let me echo what Joe Stars said, particularly thanking parents who are here and who aren't here for the young men and women you've been raising. I've observed this summer in interaction with the students in our programs that I don't know that I've ever seen a group that has expressed gratitude so often and so well for the opportunities they had this summer. And that really means a lot to us on the staff. I mean, this is a labor of love for us, and we really appreciate hearing from students about the positive sides of the experience. We know there are always bumps in the road of any program, but this has been a wonderful summer, and it's because of you, the students, and the way you've really fully engaged. So thank you for making this a great summer for us. I also echo Joe in thanking the U.S. programs team for their very hard work. One person on the team, I said, well, what do you think? The students are going to be going home on Friday. He said, I'm looking forward to sleeping with my phone on silent mode. Because for 8 weeks, he said to have it live in case something came up in the night. And a few of them hadn't, I think Joe Stars just finally met a grandchild that was born a few months ago. Because he's been so busy, he couldn't get to Texas to meet his grandson. So they do work very hard year-round. It's very intense in the summer, as you know. They're at all these small group events, organizing things, all of them. So thank you to Laura, Stephen, Abby, Colin, Elizabeth, and I'm missing others on that team, but Mohammed and so many others who work on the U.S. programs team and make this possible. Our program assistants as well have been indispensable this summer, and I appreciate all your hard work. So we're going to miss you around the office. I've been offering parting words to TFAS students at closing ceremonies like this now for nearly 30 years. I was thinking the other day that I've probably sent off well over 10 or maybe up to 15,000 students, both here in Washington, D.C., in Santiago, Chile, in Prague, where our chairman and I and some others will be going this week for our program that's underway there, in Hong Kong and Greece. It's been a remarkable opportunity for me. But each year I confess that I approach this wondering what I can say that might be fresh, that will offer something valuable to you as you leave TFAS. This morning I thought I'd draw on something Governor Mitch Daniels said to you when he gave our Neil Freeman lecture way back, I think after you'd been here about a week. Governor Daniels reminded us of a story that President Biden referenced last night in his remarks to the nation. And it was the response of Ben Franklin when he was asked at the conclusion of the Constitutional Convention, "What kind of government have you given us?" And he replied, "A republic, if we can keep it." And I think, as Governor Daniels noted, it was very unclear at that time whether our new nation would survive more than a few generations. It was called an experiment in liberty, after all, because the founders really didn't have much confidence that this republic would be successful. Governor Daniels provided evidence of that by mentioning that Congress approved language for early coinage that bore the inscription, "Exito and dubio est." The outcome remains in doubt. But last, our republic has. In 2 years, we'll celebrate the sesquicentennial of the Declaration of Independence. I checked, not many countries in the world today even existed back in 1776. Only about 25 of the 200 plus countries in the world today were around back then. The vast majority of countries that existed in 1776 are no longer around. My message today is this: we can't take anything for granted. Freedom is not free. Liberty, justice, peace, they're all things that require a virtuous people, a commitment to integrity and eternal vigilance. They require courageous leadership if we are to keep them. So I implore you, whatever career path you choose, bring light into the lives of those around you, your coworkers, neighbors, family, even strangers. In doing so, you'll be making the world a better place. There's a story told to me years ago by someone. It's about a man who came home after a long, exhausting day at work to be greeted by his two very energetic children. The last thing he wanted to do after settling down in his comfortable recliner to read the paper was to play with his children. So thinking quickly, he noticed that the paper had on a 2-page spread a beautiful map of the world. So he quickly tore it into pieces, handed it to his children, and said, "Here's a puzzle. Go in the other room and see if you can put this puzzle together. It's a map of the world." His children left the room excited with the challenge, and the man settled into his easy chair. But within minutes, his children returned and enthusiastically said they had completed the puzzle. He was quite surprised and asked them how they did it so quickly, and the children said, "On the back of the page was a picture of a man. We put the man together, and then the whole world came together." The whole world fell into place. Well, I think that story explains the motivation for what we do at the Fund for American Studies. We sincerely believe if you prepare young men and women to be courageous and honorable leaders, the world will be a better place. The right ideas, advanced by dedicated people, even if small in number, can change the world, and history shows that. If we've been successful here at TFAS this summer, you are leaving us today with experiences that have better prepared you to lead. My hope is you've been challenged to be critical thinkers and inspired to be lifelong learners. Whatever your political persuasion or affiliation, I hope you will seek common ground around bedrock ideas that advance civilization and human flourishing. We at TFAS take to heart the wisdom of Plutarch, that the mind is a vessel to be filled, not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled. I hope we've kindled a fire in your minds this summer that will burn for years to come. That's why I humbly pray, give us wide walls to build our house of life. The north should be of love against the winds of hate, the south of tolerance that we may outreach fate, the east of faith that rises bright and clear each day, the west of hope that even dies a glorious way. The floor beneath our feet should be humility, the roof, the sky itself, infinity. Give us wide walls to build our house of life. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ann Bradley. I'm one of the professors here this summer, and I'm also the VP of Academic Affairs at TFAS. I just have a few remarks on behalf of the faculty. We told you that it would be a fast-moving summer, and here we are. You have accomplished so much in 8 short weeks: classes, exams, homework, lectures, site visits, briefings, and more. You have been immersed in your internships and made new friendships that we hope last a lifetime. We've invited you to Washington, D.C. to live, learn, and intern, and we hope that this experience has changed you in ways that you can see now and in ways that will be revealed to you through the rest of your lives. Speaking on behalf of the faculty, we cherish our time with you in the classroom. The classroom is a cherished space. It is truly a safe space where we can learn, push our intellectual boundaries, and wrestle with ideas in an environment where it's acceptable and encouraged to disagree. How else can we pursue truth? In your lives, you only spend a short time in the college classroom. It's a treasured time, and we hope that it has stretched you, challenged you, and strengthened your commitment to intellectual humility. We hope that you will take these experiences and continue to learn from them. I remember when I was in graduate school and I defended my dissertation, which of course is the day you basically wait for from the first day you walk in. You spend years researching, and then you get really a mere 45 minutes to present your research findings to your committee. They pepper you with questions and then send you out in the room, send you out in the hallway to debate your fate. Have you successfully completed this task? Then they call you back into the room and tell you their decision, and it's obviously very stressful, a couple of hours. In that moment, I remember the immense weight that was lifted when they told me I had passed. I would graduate and get to walk across the stage. Then my professor told me something I will never forget. He said, "You are now qualified to be a lifelong student of economics." He did not tell me that I was now an expert who could tell everybody else what to do, sadly for me. I was now prepared to be a lifelong student and to unleash my intellectual curiosity on questions that I was passionate about and try to learn. As I look back, this was the best thing he could have said to me. Let us be lifelong learners and humble students of the world. As you leave the program and go on to graduate school, law school, careers, family, and all the wonderful accomplishments ahead of you, make sure to remain intellectually curious and intellectually humble. Be students of the world with a deep love of humanity. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Despite the real challenges we face, the world is an extraordinary place, and you are living in an incredibly exciting time. The vignette I'm going to share with you and the facts that follow it come from Marian Tupy, who is a co-author of the amazing book Superabundance. I highly recommend it. He says this: imagine, if you will, the following scenario. In 1720, it is 1723, and you are invited to dinner in a bucolic New England countryside, unspoiled by the ravages of the Industrial Revolution. There you encounter a family of English settlers who left the old world to start a new life in North America. The father, muscles bulging after a vigorous day of work on the farm, sits at the head of the table reading from the Bible. His beautiful wife, dressed in rustic finery, is putting finishing touches on a pot of hearty stew. The son, a strapping lad of 17, has just returned from an invigorating horse ride, while the daughter, 12, is playing with her dolls. Aside from the antiquated gender roles, what's not to like? Well, he'll tell us. An idealized depiction of pre-industrial life, as an idealized depiction, this setting is easily recognizable to anybody familiar with romantic writings or films such as Gone with the Wind. But as a description of reality, it is rubbish, balderdash, just plain nonsense. More likely than not, the father is in agonizing and chronic pain from decades of hard labor. His wife's lungs, destroyed by years of indoor pollution, make her cough blood. Soon she will die. The daughter, the family being too poor to afford a dowry, will spend her life as a spinster, shunned by her peers. And the son is suffering from a mysterious ailment that will kill him before he is 30. For most of human history, life was very difficult for most people. They lacked basic medicines and died relatively young. They had no painkillers, and people with ailments spent much of their lives in agonizing pain. Entire families lived in bug-infested dwellings that offered neither comfort nor privacy. They worked in the fields from sunrise to sunset, yet hunger and famines were common. Transportation was primitive, and most people never traveled beyond their native villages or nearest towns. Ignorance and illiteracy were rife. The good old days were by and large very bad for the majority of humankind. Since then, humanity has made enormous progress, especially over the course of the last 2 centuries. Now, how much progress, you may ask? I'm an economist, so I have to share the data with you, right? Life expectancy before the modern era, which is to say the last 200 years or so, was between ages 25 and 30. The global average today is 73. It's 78 in the US and 85 in Hong Kong. In the mid-18th century, 40% of children died before their 15th birthday in Sweden and 50% in Bavaria. That was not unusual. The average child mortality among hunter-gatherers was 49%. Today, global child mortality is 4%. It is 0.3% in the Nordic nations and Japan. Most of the people who survived into adulthood lived on the equivalent of $2 per day, a permanent state of destitution that lasted from the start of the agricultural revolution 10,000 years ago until the 1800s. Today, the global average is $35 adjusted for inflation. So to put it differently, the average inhabitant of the world today is 18 times better off. With rising incomes came a massive reduction in absolute poverty, which fell from 90% in the early 19th century to 40% in 1980 to less than 10% today. As scholars from the Brookings Institution put it, poverty reduction of this magnitude is unparalleled in history. Along with absolute poverty came hunger. Famines were once common, and the average food consumption in France didn't reach 2,000 calories per person per day until the 1820s. Today, the global average is approaching 3,000 calories, and obesity is an increasing problem, even in sub-Saharan Africa. Almost 90% of people worldwide in 1820 were illiterate. Today, over 90% of humanity is literate. As late as 1870, the total length of schooling at all levels of education for people between 24 and 65 was half a year. Today, it's 9 years. These are the basics, but don't forget other conveniences of modern life, such as antibiotics. Roger likes to tell this story. President Calvin Coolidge's son died from an infected blister, which he developed while playing tennis at the White House in 1924. 4 years later, Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin. Or think of air conditioning, the arrival of which increased productivity and standards of living, especially in the American South. It ensured that New Yorkers didn't have to sleep outside on staircases during the summer to avoid the heat. These material advances were initially only available to the very wealthy. Yet today, 88% of American households have air conditioning, 97% own cell phones, and you can get, I looked this up this morning, 28 pills of penicillin from Wegmans if you have a coupon for $5.50. That's without insurance. So also this proves that Wegmans is the world's best grocery store, which I've said before. But there are immaterial advances that come with wealth generation which matter as well. Despite the malicious behavior we may see online and in political violence, we are more humane. Slavery today is formally banned in every country on earth. And going back 4,000 years, it was practiced in every country on earth. Despite the active conflicts and terrorism in the world today, we are more peaceful. 500 years ago, great powers were at war 100% of the time. Every springtime, armies moved, invaded their neighbors' territory, and fought until wintertime. War was the norm. Today, we have more peace, and we need to continue fighting for even more peace. Overwhelming evidence from across the academic disciplines clearly shows that we are richer, live longer, are better fed, and better educated. Most of all, the evidence shows we are more humane. My point, therefore, is this. It is the best time to be alive. We need to be aware of the problems we face, and we need to work hard to make it better. So I leave you with this picture in your mind because the work of human flourishing is not yet complete. We have serious fiscal and humanitarian issues at stake, both domestically and internationally, and we must understand the world as it is now, as well as understanding our economic history, so that we can continue this remarkable progress. I always tell my students this: there is no such thing as economic destiny. Nations can rise from poverty and descend into its ashes. We must have hope and a framework for human improvement. If you have no hope for the future, you won't fight for it. Keep this in mind because you are our future leaders. We will be relying on you, and we have faith in you. So whatever you do, you can make a difference and make contributions to human flourishing as you head into the next chapter of your lives. So please remember to stay in touch with us. Just like your parents, we like it when you email and call us. We hope to see you again in our TFAS programs now that you're alumni. We hope that you enjoy the rest of your summer, and thank you for choosing to spend your time with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bradley. Good morning, everyone. My name is Abby, and I am the manager of the Business and Government Relations program here at TFAS. Now, I would like to introduce the Summer Snapshots segment of our ceremony. 4 students have been selected as representatives of their program tracks, and they will each speak on one of the themes of Live, Learn, Intern, and Connect to talk about their thoughts and reflections on their experiences this summer. I'm going to kick things off with the Business and Government Relations program. In our program track, students delve into the complexities of the relationship between business and the legislation and regulations that impact them on a daily basis. Our students intern with a variety of groups ranging from government relations teams at companies to trade associations to lobbying and consulting firms. In our guest lecture series this summer, we heard from speakers on a wide range of topics, including government affairs professionals, Hill staffers, and experts in the tech industry. Beyond the lectures, our students engaged in a debate on the appropriate use of AI technology in the U.S. military and attended a briefing at the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission. They also explored a number of career paths, including government relations at Albertsons companies and pharma, federal and state level advocacy at Stateside Associates and the Alpine Group, and legal careers at the Institute for Justice. It's been a pleasure to work with all of you this summer, and I would now like to invite all 51 of the students in the Business and Government Relations program to stand up and be recognized. Thanks, guys. Now, a quick word about our internship sites. The internship sites that we work with are really the backbone of our summer program. And we truly couldn't do what we do here at TFAS without the support of the countless organizations around DC who hire TFAS students each summer. So each program will be recognizing a standout internship host for this summer who has really gone above and beyond in opening their doors to TFAS students. So for the Business and Government Relations program, I would like to recognize Stateside Associates. They've been a great partner of TFAS for many years. This summer, they're hosting 4 of our students, and they provide them with an exceptional professional experience every summer. In addition, they regularly host small group discussions for our students and welcome us into their office. So now I would like to invite Jonathan, Zachary, and Taylor up to accept their award. Thank you guys for all that you do for TFAS. Finally, I would like to introduce our student speaker, Christine Polja. Christine is a first-year master's student at the Swedish School of Economics, and this summer she interned with the American Short Line and Regional Railroad Association. That's kind of a mouthful. A native of Latvia, her international exposure includes an exchange semester in South Korea and also an exchange in Colombia. Beyond academics, Christine has actively participated in social responsibility initiatives, including a 1-month student trip to Uganda, contributing to community welfare. Her professional experience includes the finance and regulatory sectors, with roles in a prominent Nordic bank and as a CFO assistant in an international public company. Please join me in welcoming Christine.
Good morning, everyone. So, as you heard, my name is Christine Polja, and I'm honored to represent the Business and Government Affairs track at today's closing ceremony. Hailing from Latvia and currently pursuing my master's degree in Sweden, I never imagined my journey to be here in Washington, D.C. I used to joke with my friends about avoiding the U.S. at all costs because of the stereotypes I had heard. However, my time in D.C. has changed my perspective thanks to the TFAS. TFAS is renowned for its internships and educational programs, but it is much more than just that. We often get so preoccupied by our work that we forget to live. TFAS asked me to share my top 3 highlights from DC, and this is what I'll be focusing on today. One of my brightest highlights was our trip to Mount Vernon. The visit offered valuable insights into the preservance and vision that shaped the United States of America, nation. It was both educational and inspiring, underscoring the importance of strong leadership and public service. Though I must admit, I am glad that my TFAS internship did not involve leading a revolution. Now, let's talk about DC's weather. It has been adventure on its own. Coming from Latvia, where mornings are a brisk 55 degrees Fahrenheit, the DC 100-degree heat was a shock. I never have been a fan of air conditioning, though I cannot imagine a life in DC without having one. And those business professional outfits that TFAS usually requires us to wear, well, kudos to those who keep looking sharp while melting. Another highlight has been the friendships I have formed. Living in the 8th floor of the district house, I have met incredible people who I now would love to have as my lifelong friends. Floor mates, thank you for being my support system. Whether you were interpreting American customs to me or simply enjoying each other's company during our coach time, you made every moment special. I even tried to understand baseball, though I'm still working on that, but I get the hype now. Lastly, I want to thank everyone who has been part of my DC journey. Thank you, Abby, for organizing our track, and Erin for your constant support. To all my fellow TFAS students, I'm excited to see where your path will take you and the heights you'll reach. In closing, this summer in DC has been transformative. It has changed, inspired, and allowed me to grow in ways I never expected. Thank you, TFAS, for this incredible journey and for the memories we have created together. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Laura Cusack. I'm the director of the Public Policy and Economics program here at TFAS. This program brings together the next generation of leaders who are passionate about politics and aspire to work in legislation, research, law, or public service. These future leaders are introduced to the role of economics in the context of policymaking and learn how to apply the economic way of thinking to a variety of public policy issues. Students in this program intern with policy groups, federal agencies, think tanks, congressional offices, and NGOs. This summer, we've engaged with speakers from a number of organizations and offices, including Free the Facts, Speech First, the Organization of American States, congressional offices, and many more. Over the past 8 weeks, our students worked hard, were engaged in all facets of the program, took as many opportunities as possible. They've been positive, open-minded, and a very impressive group to work with. So I'd like to invite the 107 public policy and economics students to please stand and be recognized.
Hi, I'm Stephen Ridley, manager of the Public Policy and Economics program. Before I introduce our student speaker today, I'd like to take a moment to recognize one of the incredible organizations that hosted TFAS interns this summer, the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization. As the respected authority on hospice and palliative care, the NHPCO is the leader in advancing public policy and quality programs that improve access to high-quality, person-centered, interdisciplinary care when and where people need it. They hosted 4 TFAS students this summer who completed internships with their grassroots advocacy, quality, veterans services, and education and events teams. It's my pleasure to present the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization with our Internship Site Award for the 2024 Public Policy and Economics program. Kristen. Thank you again for all you do for our students. Now, I'd like to introduce Isaac O. Originally from Palo Alto, California, Isaac studies economics at Amherst College. He is passionate about analyzing and exploring the effects of economic policies in areas such as innovation, security, and environmental quality. He has experience writing on economic issues for the nonprofit InvestBright and as an economics research assistant. Outside the classroom, Isaac enjoys singing in his Christian a cappella group and participating in rowing club. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Isaac O.
I'll just say right now, this speech is incomplete. Not unfinished, incomplete. That's because its theme is learn. And I know I won't be able to completely articulate everything I've learned at TFAS this summer. There are way too many facets to recap and far too many people to thank. But I'll give it my best shot. As Stephen just said, my name is Isaac O, and it is my privilege to represent the Public Policy and Economics track at this year's closing ceremony. I think I speak for all of us when I say that this summer has indeed been something special, and that everyone did their part to make it so. My summer would not have been possible without the dedicated efforts of my program heads, Stephen, Laura, and James, as well as all the other TFAS staff. It wouldn't have been possible without the professors, speakers, and alumni who gave us their time. And it wouldn't have been possible without all of you, my fellow TFAS students and friends. Thank you all for contributing to an unforgettable summer. I'll never forget my economics class, where Professor Coyne repeatedly emphasized that prices don't fall from on high, that they emerge from a multitude of market interactions. His class further inspired me to pursue policies that harness, rather than fight, market mechanisms and human creativity. I'll never forget my foreign policy elective class, where Professor Lozic so skillfully moderated a discussion on the achievements and shortfalls of Wilsonian idealism. The power of ideas on the international stage should never be taken for granted. And I'll never forget my visit to ClearPath, where CEO and TFAS alumnus Jeremy Harrell demonstrated by taking time out of his busy schedule to answer questions from inquisitive students, not just the type of professional, but the type of person we should all aspire to be as soon-to-be TFAS alums. There are many other examples I could mention, but then we'd be here all day, and TFAS also taught me the value of respecting other people's time. Suffice it to say, our learning journeys will never be complete, but TFAS has given us more than enough to take the next step. It's just a good thing I'm giving this speech now. A year from now, I'll have even more to thank you all for. God bless.
Great, Isaac, thank you. As I mentioned earlier, I oversee our journalism and communications track program here at TFAS, but I wanted to recognize one person who I could not have done the summer without, and that's Jacqueline Burr, my program advisor. She did so much this summer for our students, including hours and hours in the emergency room when a student would get sick. We don't like them to sit there by themselves, and so last night Jacqueline was with a student in the emergency room, but she helped keep me on track. She helped make the summer fun, and she really just dove in with both feet and really just poured herself out for our students. So thank you, Jacqueline. Established in 1985, this program track has been the starting block for many journalists who now work in every major media outlet in the country, including the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, Fox News, C-SPAN, and many, many other outlets. The anchor and managing editor of ABC News World Tonight, David Muir, is an alum of our program. Students in this track intern for news and media outlets reporting on critical issues of the day. This summer, our students have had hundreds of articles published. Think of all the news that has happened just in the last few weeks. TFAS journalism students covered all the history-making stories that have riveted the nation and the world this summer. Students in this track also intern for public relations firms in the communications division at trade associations, nonprofit, and advocacy organizations. These students help with media outreach, crisis communication, client briefing, social media outreach, and membership support. During the summer, our students heard from journalists from National Public Radio, CNN, Fox News, The Hill newspaper, CBS Radio. They got to interact with people who are doing the job of journalists in communication. So for all of you who are a member of this great program track, please stand up to be recognized. In terms of organizations who offer our students internships, I am particularly indebted and appreciative of one news outlet in particular. The Well News, an online publication based in downtown Washington, D.C., took on 6 TFAS students this summer, 3 as reporters and 3 in their public relations and business development team. They even brought on 2 more interns who had extra time on their hands during the summer and gave them additional experience. TFAS has been fortunate enough to partner with the Well News for over 5 years. I cannot imagine a summer without them, so I'm so grateful. So I'd like to thank Christina Palos, the managing director, and Dan McHugh, the editor of the Well News, to come forward and receive their award, and thank you so much, guys. Next, I'd like to introduce our student speaker, Annabelle Elliott, to talk about her experience as an intern this summer. I first met Annabelle on a recruitment trip to Texas at her school, Texas State University, last fall. After 5 minutes of having coffee with this student, I realized that Annabelle was not an average student. In fact, she's quite a Renaissance woman. Not only is she a reporter for the student newspaper, but she's also a talented musician, a private pilot, and a leader on campus. This summer, she interned as an intrepid reporter on Capitol Hill and has quite the story to report today. Let's welcome Annabelle Elliott.
Never use the senator-only elevator. If it's rainy, Congress people take the tunnel. If it's sunny, they walk above ground. No photos in the House, no videos in the House or the Senate. Pressers are news conferences, and scrums are what you call a big group of reporters with their mics hot. Most of the time, if a congressperson happens to get a phone call right when you walk by, it's fake. And there's a lot of fake phone calls in the halls of Capitol Hill. My name is Annabelle Elliott, and this summer I've been a journalist on Capitol Hill as an intern for Matt Laszlo. He's a freelance journalist that has his own wire service in the Capitol. I learned a lot about who I want to be through my internship on the Hill. I learned I want to play the long game, and I want to hold on to my humanity while covering a space that doesn't always do that. Let me explain. So, when you wear the yellow press badge, which I brought mine right here so y'all can see it, when you wear it, you immediately have a lot of people who aren't going to like you. They see you as a spy of some sorts. When you walk by them or when you get in the elevator with them, everybody gets really quiet as if their conversation just ended, but you know they stopped talking because they saw you. But the Congress people, they understand that they need you. There can be a sort of symbiotic relationship between the press and politicians based on accountability. I learned to approach senators and representatives and call them by name, shake their hand, and introduce myself before hitting record. I tell them the context of the question while I ask the question. And this makes a world of difference because now we're 2 humans having a conversation instead of one person trying to trip someone up and one person trying to say something to please their constituents. Just this week, I got to sit down with a congresswoman from Florida to write a profile about her for a magazine. This was probably my favorite moment because I had to work hard to build the trust it took to arrange that interview, and it paid off. I set intentions for my internship. I want to intake information and be an observer, but I also want to have something to show for my portfolio. I also want to leave with more contacts than when I arrived. I quickly saw I was going to have to space out those intentions because it is so fast-paced. Either I'm locked in, editing, getting together the piece of the day, hunting down the congressperson for the quote, or talking with other journalists and learning by observation. To actually get something done, you have to choose. And like Joe mentioned, in my life, I want to do it all, even in my career. I've got the aviation thing, I've got the journalism, I've got the musicianship. You can see I'm not fond of locking down one thing if it means it's taking me away from other things. In this job, I learned that the moments I locked in and fully focused on what was right in front of me, those moments have paid off more than anything and led to my biggest accomplishments. We're in a really important time right now with an opportunity to restore the public's trust in the media. And I got to not only have a front row seat watching giants in the field of journalism, but I got to be a participant. I got to ask questions and learn from people that I've watched give me the news on TV for years. Overall, this experience has taught me we are all so deeply important. Having a conversation with a high-profile congressman in the morning and having a conversation with an unhoused person on the walk home in the evening, it's the same. We are all the same. And we are all so deeply valuable with different perspectives and lived experience that deserve care and respect. Just like how being a good journalist means taking in every detail to write a thorough story, this internship has reminded me that being a well-rounded person means actively choosing to see and honor the intrinsic value in every single person. I am so grateful for this opportunity and all the countless lessons that I have learned in this internship. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Colin Parks, and I oversee our International Affairs program track here at TFAS. This summer, 72 students in our International Affairs track embarked on a journey through the realm of foreign policy, defense, and international affairs. We met with ambassadors, foreign service officers, intelligence officers from the CIA and FBI, foreign aid workers, peacekeepers, those championing human rights and democracy abroad, and many others in the foreign policy and defense space. We had briefings at the U.S. Institute of Peace, the World Bank, the State Department. We met with others from the United Nations, USAID. Some of you had the opportunity to attend a briefing at a leading foreign policy journal, the Foreign Policy magazine. As part of our lecture series, we were joined by diplomats from the British Embassy to discuss the future of NATO in light of its 75th anniversary. We had a live recording of the Net Assessment podcast examining U.S.-Turkish relations. We did a review of strategic issues in Latin America, and we were joined by the Deputy Space Counselor to the French Embassy to discuss space diplomacy, a new frontier in geopolitical competition. And because this was the summer of NATO, you all decided to debate whether the U.S. should remain in NATO or go. Should we stay or should we go? You interned at the Pentagon, on Capitol Hill, at foreign policy think tanks, and numerous NGOs and nonprofits working on a range of issues from human rights, aid and development, rule of law issues, and many more important missions. This summer, I started the program before you all with both an analogy and a quote. The analogy being that this summer will be a marathon requiring commitment, discipline, and endurance. The quote being, "We cannot be perfect, it's not possible, but we can strive for perfection and achieve excellence. Well, to the 72 students in our International Affairs track, you have crossed the finish line, and you've been excellent. Congratulations. It's been an immense pleasure serving you this summer. Would you all please stand to be recognized? Perfect. I would now like to recognize a partner in our program, an organization that has been a longtime host of students in our International Affairs track, the Potomac Institute for Policy Studies, specifically Mr. Kevin Harrington, who never fails to answer an email asking to please consider our exceptional students. This summer, he and his colleagues at the Potomac Institute, specifically at the International Center for Terrorism Studies, hosted 3 students, Lucinda Barber, Emily Miller, and Tori Beasley. Kevin has been outstanding in providing such an enriching experience for our students. And though it sounds a little bit morbid, exciting them about the world of terrorism and counterterrorism. So thank you for being a launching point for their careers in this critical field, and we'd like to recognize you now. Next, I'd like to recognize and welcome up the student speaker for our International Affairs track, Shelby Denhart. Shelby comes to us from the University of Dayton. He's a communications major, but most importantly, he's a veteran of the United States Air Force. He interned this summer for the International Foundation for Electoral Systems. He came to DC with the curiosity and an openness to explore all that this town has to offer, which is fitting because I think something he most enjoys is exploring big city living, so check on that. But also one of his greatest passions is traveling the globe and immersing himself in different cultures and creating unforgettable memories. Shelby, I hope this summer can be included in your canon of unforgettable memories. It's been a pleasure having you with us, and an honor to have you share your experience with your classmates. So please come on up.
Well, good morning, everyone. Like Colin said, my name is Shelby Denhart. Firstly, I want to thank the TFAS organization and Mr. Shane for inviting me to speak today and with the International Affairs track. I would also like to thank the friends and families of my TFAS internship colleagues who have traveled from all over the world to be with us here today. I am honored to share my experiences with you, especially about the connect aspect of my TFAS experience. Throughout my time with TFAS, I have had incredible opportunities to immerse myself in the world of international affairs and to connect with some of the brightest and most amazing people from around the globe. 2 of the most significant relationships I've developed is with my internship supervisor and mentor, Andrew Kolb, the Director of Strategic Communications and Advocacy at the International Foundation for Electoral Systems. That's a mouthful, and I practiced it a lot, so I'm glad I got through it. Where I interned this summer with their communication department. With his guidance and support, he has been crucial in navigating with my professional journey and helping me set clear career goals. Additionally, Mr. Colin Parks, the director of the International Affairs track here at TFAS, has offered invaluable advice and encouragement, helping me to refine my aspirations over the summer. So thank you, Colin. I really appreciate that. Like many other interns, networking with professionals has been a highlight of my TFAS experience. I had the chance to sit down and grab coffee with individuals who are experts and leaders in their field, such as Francesca McAllister, a TFAS alum and defense and nuclear policy officer at the British Embassy here in DC. She gave me invaluable insights into a career in foreign relations as an Air Force veteran and chapter president of my university Student Veterans Association. It was an honor to meet with Jared Lyon, the president and CEO of the Student Veterans of America. During our meeting at the headquarters, he gave me helpful advice on how to lead my chapter better as I finished my time in office as the president of the chapter at the University of Dayton. These interactions and others have helped me build a unique network of career and personal connections that will help me for years to come. Lastly, and most importantly, are the friendships I've formed. Through my classes, small groups, and professional development seminars, these connections go beyond the classroom and have become for me, as I'm sure for many of you, my favorite part of this internship. We have debated ideas, collaborated on projects, and celebrated each other's successes, and I've played more games of cornhole than I can remember this summer. In conclusion, the Connect aspect of my TFAS experience has been transformative. The mentorship from Andrew Kolb and Mr. Colin Parks and the professional networking opportunities have been invaluable. The friendships I have formed from surviving the DC heat and the long metro and Uber rides have all contributed to my personal and professional growth. I am grateful for the opportunities I have had to connect with so many inspiring individuals and for my lasting relationships and friendships that I've made this year. Thank you guys so much, and God bless. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Shelby. So students, throughout this summer, you've heard us mention again and again that once you complete the program, you will join the ranks of over 20,000 TFAS alumni around the world. This summer, you had the opportunity to meet many of these amazing alumni through our mentors, our speakers, our internship sponsors, career and industry hosts, and at what I think was one of the best events of the summer, our alumni roundtable dinner. It's a simple fact. The richness and depth of your summer experience happens because of our alumni. We could not do what we do without them. For more than 20 years, TFAS has recognized successful and dedicated alumni for 2 different awards, our Kevin Burkett Service Award and our Young Alumnus Award. The 2 recipients today really are eligible for both awards. Both have gone above and beyond in service to TFAS, and both have excelled in their professional careers. But I will start first with my friend Brittany Hackett, since we both arrived on the TFAS scene at the same time in 2007. I was the newly minted director of our journalism program, and Brittany was a student in my inaugural class. Brittany stood out in many ways that summer. She always had a smile on her face, and she always seemed to be the student having the most fun. She frequently likes to tell me that she and her cohort got away with a lot more than I was aware of at the time. I also remember her as someone who was dedicated to being the best journalist she could be. Over the years, we've watched her grow as a reporter, a sought-after communications specialist, and a leader in every professional opportunity she's been a part of. Since she began her career in DC in 2008, she served as a mentor, internship host, alumni engagement committee, speaker, and much, much more. The award that she is receiving today is named after a dedicated TFAS alum by the name of Kevin Burkett, whose love and service to TFAS was legendary. Kevin was a 1985 alum who lost his battle with cancer the same year that Brittany and I joined TFAS. Kevin's life was embodied by service to others. Brittany's service and dedication to TFAS has been suffused with that same spirit of service and giving. So with that in mind, it gives me much joy and pleasure to award the TFAS 2024 Kevin Burkett Alumni Service Award to Brittany Hackett. Our next award, the Young Alumnus Award, is given to an alum who is 30 years of age or younger and has shown great promise in his or her professional career and volunteered considerable time for TFAS. The recipient of this award should embody the values, ideals, and mission of TFAS. Our recipient, Sarah Troutman, fulfills all these requirements in spades. Sarah Troutman, in her experience on the U.S. House Committee on Foreign Affairs, her service was exemplary. Her policy portfolio included the United Nations, the Millennium Challenge Corporation, the Peace Corps, global health, and global human rights. She helped plan and facilitate meetings for members of Congress and staff issues related to the aforementioned portfolio with the representatives of foreign embassies, federal agencies, and the private sector. She recently became Director of Government Relations for the One Campaign, an organization that encourages investments needed to create economic opportunities and healthier lives in Africa. Like Brittany, Sarah is always giving back to TFAS year after year. She never says no. She's been a mentor, a speaker, and has served us in so many other ways. She's a dependable and much appreciated member of the TFAS alumni cohort here in DC. So Sarah, on behalf of the entire TFAS family, I'm thrilled to offer you the TFAS 2024 Young Alumnus Award. Now we will hear from our first awardee, Brittany Heck.
Thanks, Joe. First of all, good morning, and congratulations to all of you. You survived the DC summer heat. This year was probably the worst that I've seen in like the 16 years that I've lived in this city, so good job. I hope your TFAS experience has been valuable, that you found opportunities to challenge yourselves, engage with each other, and that you're inspired to take whatever your next challenge is. I want you to take it with enthusiasm and leadership. I'd like to briefly thank TFAS for the Alumni Service Award. It's an honor to be recognized by an organization that has given me so much over the years. I'm very proud to be an active alum and a mentor. I especially want to thank Joe Stars. You've been a constant friend and mentor to me since we met in 2007. I'd also like to thank all of the TFAS staff who work on the programs related to alumni and mentoring and all of those great services that you provide to students. It's a pleasure to engage with you, and I appreciate all the work that you do to keep the TFAS family connected. When I think back on my TFAS experience in the summer of 2007, I always recall the people that I met and learned from the TFAS staff and professors to my internship colleagues, my mentor, and my peers. I'm blown away by the generosity that I was shown, both in time and their valuable advice. It's one of the biggest drivers in my serving as a TFAS mentor every summer, the desire to pass on the kindness and the support that I've been shown throughout my career. I first volunteered as a mentor in 2009, and I've continued to do so every year since. It's one of the most rewarding professional activities that I engage in, and I can honestly say that I get just as much out of it as you guys do as students. In thinking about what I would say today, I first reflected on all the conversations that I've had with mentees over the years, and there have been a lot of them and a lot of coffee. It seemed like no matter who the person was or what the year, I always circled around the same pieces of advice around navigating life in DC and adulthood in general, although I still question if I'm qualified to give adult advice. Anyway, here are the 5 lessons that I've learned in my 16 years of adulting in DC. Number 5, it's okay not to know what is next. At no point in my life have I felt like I had all the answers or had a foolproof plan for what I was doing. And that's okay. Instead, focus on what you do have, on the information you do have, how you can use it to make your next decision. You have your goals, your networks of friends, families, and colleagues, skills that you can apply. Use the tools that you have to inform your next moves and try to focus on what you can control. And remember, every decision or experience can inform the next one. The only constant is change, so be adaptable and persistent. Number 4, find your people. Whether it's personal or professional, having the right people in your corner, it makes all the difference. Look for the people who will give you support and advice, but are also not afraid to push against you when you need it. Find people who will celebrate your wins, help you work through your losses, and will help build you up when you need it. Number 3, be open to the unexpected. It's really easy to be focused on achieving the goal that you have set for yourself. But in doing that, you sometimes can miss an opportunity or an experience. Don't be afraid to pivot or take a chance on something that's outside of your plan. It could be a job, it could be moving to a new city, taking a trip, whatever it is. Be open to life and all you can experience, because that's where the real growth is going to happen. And number 2, strive for balance in everything. This applies to work, your personal life, whatever you find yourself in. You're going to constantly be faced with decisions on how to spend your time, your energy, your money, your emotions, all of it. Find the balance that works best for you and is going to set yourself up for success. And the balance is going to change with each new phase of life or situation. So be open and receptive to what your body and mind are telling you, and speak up when you need help. And then number 1, have faith, but work hard. It's easy to say that it's all going to work out, but it's much harder to live it. But I do believe that is true. Life often has a funny way of working out in the end. It might not be how you expected it, but things really do end up okay in the end. I think that's really good advice, particularly for what we're experiencing this summer. Things have a way of working themselves out. So have faith that your skills and your abilities are going to get you where you need to go. Believe in yourself and your ambitions, and work hard while you're doing so. Learn new skills, take opportunities as they come, strive to grow and do better each time. Take each challenge as it comes and learn something from it to prepare you for the next one, and try to have some fun while you're doing it. I'd like to end my remarks with a shameless plug to stay active in TFAS after today, whether that's joining the alumni portal, which I'm sure the staff will tell you all about, serving as a mentor, staying in touch with each other. It's been 17 years since I did TFAS, and it still remains one of my most important professional and personal networks. I've met so many people through the program, and I'm still very close friends with many of the people that I did the program with in 2007. So I'll conclude just by saying again, congratulations on all of your accomplishments this summer. I'm excited to see where your journeys take you, and thank you so much.
Well, good morning, everyone. I might be the last person to say that to you from this podium today, but we'll see. As Joe said, my name is Sarah Troutman, and I was a TFAS participant in 2016, and I'm currently a director of government relations at an NGO called the One Campaign. I want to first echo everyone's congratulations to all of you for completing your TFAS summer. If it was anything like mine, it was the fastest 8 weeks of your life, and maybe the hottest. I'm so excited for you to take the lessons you've learned here and jump into your next adventure, hopefully with a little time off in between. I also want to congratulate Brittany on her award, which is very well deserved, and thank her for the excellent advice she's always shared with me. She's a very tough act to follow in terms of sharing wisdom, but I'm going to do my best. I'd like to emphasize how honored I am to receive the TFAS Young Alumnus Award, and to say a huge thank you to the Alumni Engagement Committee and everyone at TFAS for choosing me. When I heard the news, I was truly humbled, because in that moment, I could think of so many other young alums who I would readily say deserve this award. I feel extremely thankful to have been selected this year, but I want to use this time to share the credit with my TFAS classmates and colleagues, without whom I would not be standing here today. As Brittany said, I hope you will keep up the connections you've made this summer. I cannot overemphasize the impact that TFAS has had on my life and career, and the most significant input has really come from my peers. So I'd like to briefly share with you 3 things I've learned from other young alums and explain how they've shaped my journey over the past 8 years. I hope you'll find some part of this useful as you think about your next chapter. The first thing I've learned is to not be afraid to fail. One of my best friends, who I met as a fellow TFAS PA in 2017, routinely shares this advice at the Alumni Roundtable event. I found it to be especially important to take risks early in your career. It's the easiest way to figure out what you don't want to do, which brings you one step closer to finding your true passion. It's also a powerful reminder to learn from your mistakes. The friend who shared this advice with me is the same one who connected me with my first internship on Capitol Hill, which turned into a full-time job a month later, and then became a 5-year journey on staff for the House Foreign Affairs Committee. When I moved to DC in 2019 looking for a job, I wasn't looking at the Hill at all. If I'm honest, the thought of working directly in politics intimidated me, and I was afraid that I wouldn't have what it took, and that fear almost stopped me from trying. But thankfully, I had friends, especially from TFAS, to not only encourage me to take the jump, but connect me with the perfect opportunity. I don't know where I'd be today without that first job, which gave me the foreign policy experience I needed to move forward in the field, but I do know that I have my TFAS network to thank for it. This point also brings to mind the quote, "Success is not final, failure is not fatal, it is the courage to continue that counts." I was talking to Colin Parks last week, and he brought up the TFAS mission statement, which emphasizes developing courageous leaders. If you're anything like me, you might not feel particularly courageous in your day-to-day routine, but it's important to remember that sometimes courage means perseverance, moving forward step by step and refusing to let the fear of failure deter you. All of you have taken a big step forward by completing your TFAS student summer, and I hope you'll persevere in developing your skills and using them to make our country a better place. Secondly, I want to encourage you to never give up on your passions. From watching my TFAS alumni peers take many different paths to success, I can confidently say I've learned that there is no right way to get to the top in DC. If there is something you feel led to pursue, whether in undergrad or after graduation, even if it takes you away from DC for a time, don't let the opportunity pass you by. Having an interesting hobby, a side hustle, or a niche academic pursuit will make you a more well-rounded person and will help you make more genuine connections as you climb the ladder in DC. After I spent a second summer with TFAS as a PA in 2017, I was torn about my upcoming decision to move to Northern Ireland to complete a master's degree. It was my dream school and an incredible opportunity, but I had made so many connections in DC, and I was worried that they would all disappear if I left. In the end, I took the chance and fulfilled my dream of completing the degree at Queen's University Belfast, cheered on by my TFAS friends. And when it came time to move back to DC, it was my fellow former PAs who let me move in with them before I had a job, which was a real vote of confidence because DC rent is no joke, and they helped me make the connections I needed to land on my feet. Since then, I've watched friends maintain lifelong pursuits of musical performance, become entrepreneurs on the side, and even go back to school to change or enhance their career paths. And I've never heard anyone say they regretted following their gut. Finally, I've learned that it's important to stay flexible and cultivate new skills. This piece of advice comes from a very special young alum who is now my husband. Yes, TFAS staff can rightfully take credit for their matchmaking skills. There is nothing wrong with having a specialty, whether an academic focus or professional skill, but it's also important to have range. Maintaining a growth mindset and investing in lifelong learning is critical to being ready to tackle new challenges. Being able to pivot is valuable in any field, but it's perhaps especially valuable in DC, where the daily political news keeps you on your toes. As Brittany said, the only constant is change, so I just want to encourage you to be ready for it. Being able and willing to tackle change head-on will serve you well, especially early in your professional development. It's not just learning how to maximize the latest AI tools. When you start in an office, you will likely be a utility player who's asked to jump in on a wide variety of tasks. Your willingness to be a team player and step outside your area of expertise, even outside your job description when necessary, will be extremely valuable in proving that you can get the job done. And once you've proved you can get the job done, keep asking for more responsibility until you feel like you've reached your growth ceiling in that role. And then find a new role that pushes you even further. I led a small group discussion last week with a fellow alumni from my TFAS summer, and one of you asked me how to know when it's time to leave a job and search for the next opportunity. My friend's response was, as soon as you stop learning. So once you've reached that ceiling and you can't keep going up, look out instead. All this to say, I wouldn't be standing here today without the support of my fellow young alumni and these pieces of advice they've taught me over the years. TFAS is a family, and if you keep investing in the connections you made this summer, they can last a lifetime. I'm confident that mine will. Thank you again to TFAS for this honor, to all of you for listening, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
All right, so next up on deck, we like to present a few awards. The first set of awards are our academic awards, and these are students chosen by their professors who excelled in their particular class. And so I'd like to ask Dr. Bradley and Professor Coyne to step forward. And Karen, are you here? Professor Zarnicki? No, she's not here. Okay. So the first award is for our Economics for the Citizen Award, taught by Professor Don Boudreau. And he's no stranger to the stage. He was here earlier this morning. So this award goes to Shelby Denhart. So the next three awards are named after a professor who was beloved by TFAS, who taught for almost 35 years, by the name of George Vixens. And his portrait hangs on the second floor here at TFAS, and he's one of the legendary founders and stands in the pantheon of TFAS professors and is greatly beloved by all of us at TFAS. And we're honored this morning to have his wife, Mara, come forward to help introduce or to give out the awards named in honor of her husband. So the George Vixens Award for Economic Problems and Public Policies, taught by Professor Bradley, goes to Taylor Van Emmerich. And it's the same class, just a different section, and it's taught by Professor Coyne. And he chose two students this summer to receive the award. It goes to Renee Chester and Isaac O. And the final economics award, the George Vixens Award for Economics in Transition, taught by Professor Candela, goes to two students, Cameron Tamiano and Sarah Wheeler. And the academic award for our U.S. Foreign Policy course, taught by Professor Lazick, goes to two students, Thaddeus Burson and Alejandro Menes Fish. The academic award for our course, American Political Thought, taught by Professor Richard Boyd, goes to Matthew Minsk and Carolyn Pierce. Not sure if this awardee is here or not, but if she is, the Public Policy and International Affairs Internship Seminar Program class taught by Professor Zarnicki goes to Haley King. Thank you. I'd like to ask my colleagues who head up our individual program tracks to please come forward. So, I got my pages all mixed up here. Come on, Joe Stars. Next up, we offer our Outstanding Student Awards. Now, all of you, like I said at the very beginning, really dove in with both feet this summer, but we like to recognize students who really just exemplify the TFAS work ethic and who just really stood out in terms of their participation and their overall taking the biggest bite out of the apple, if you will. So the Outstanding Student Award for our Public and Policy and Economics program goes to two students, Lillian Smith of Wofford College and Phineas Ipapi of the University of South Dakota. The Outstanding Student Award for our International Affairs program track goes to Andrew Vizentine of Texas A&M University. And for my program, the Outstanding Student Award for Journalism and Communications, the Lee Edwards Award, goes to, and forgive me, Rose, to Rose Van Dyke of Utrecht University College, Utrecht. And finally, the Outstanding Student Award for our Business and Government Relations program goes to Rajiv Rai of Ohio State University. I'd like to ask our Chairman Randy Teague to come forward to say a few closing words.
I'm always introduced to say a few chosen words. Roger reminds me that his meter's running out in 12 minutes. We both have flights to Frankfurt. I think you're going through Zurich. And so there's some pressure. But let me repeat some things that have been said here over the last hour and a half. And they are really tied to thanks, T-H-A-N-K-S. I sit at my desk in Washington, and in the last week of May, I receive a packet of material from the fund. And I open it up, and for example, there are 2 pages, simply the calendar of June and the calendar of July. And I look at that summer program, and it may say on the bottom of Tuesday evening, lectures. But in the other material, I see that there are 4 lectures. And then I realize what it took to persuade people to give those lectures, to come to Washington to do that, and all that is involved. And I look at that over the 8 weeks of this program, and it is thousands upon thousands upon thousands of hours of time, effort, expense, and so forth to bring this program together for each of you here, not as a number of 300, but each of you here to magnify the importance of this program so that you will remember these 8 weeks for the rest of your life, so that you will understand that a network that is going to accompany you through that life has been brought together for you, especially for those of you that may live and work and career and so forth in the same town. So let me add those words to those that have already been given in enormous thanks from the Board of Trustees, the Board of Regents, alumni, donors, and so forth, for the executive team, for all of the staff, every single person on the staff of the Fund for American Studies. Thank you very much. We had a session earlier this week with our journalism students, and we focused in that discussion upon what is the focus, of course, to use that word twice in one sentence, of words. Words that come from them and what they do as journalists, but words over which they sometimes don't have total control. If you were a writer, there's an editor standing somewhere further down the line. There is a headline editor who's going to summarize what those words said. If you're in magazines and books and so forth, there's a publisher that's maybe going to tell you what the name of the article, the book, whatever might be. But words are critically important in all of our lives. And you think of the thousands of words that have been said since we arrived here this morning. But I want you to think about words in a different way. Back in what part of our lives? Maybe elementary school, maybe middle school, I'm not sure which, but in a history class, we, in those days at least, when we believed so strongly in the American Revolution, we remembered the words of Nathan Hale, a young Yale student who was hung in New York City at 63rd and Lexington, if you're up that way, for being a spy on behalf of George Washington's team out of Long Island. And he said, "I regret that I only have one life to live, to give for my country, for my nation." What I want each of you to do, the students here today, is to think in the days, weeks, months, and years ahead of what the words are that are most important to you, that summarize you. Now, you can think of what would be the title of the obituary when that day inevitably comes. It might be the words that are summarized in a eulogy, but those are other people's words. I want you to think of your own words, your own words. What is it that you did? What is it that you aspired to be? What did you achieve? 8 words, 10 words, 6 words, doesn't matter. But a one sentence as to whom you are today, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. Which brings me to another point that Roger and I talked about at another session this week. I was driving home, and there's nothing in the world worse than driving home in Washington traffic. You're trying to do everything except pay attention. And so you've got the radio on. And the talk show host made an interesting observation that was based on a new Guinness Book of World Records entry. Where you would find it in the Book of World Records, I have no idea. But there were 6 sisters sitting next to each other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 sisters. and they counted up their ages. And it was 571 years. Now, of what relevance is that? If you take 2024 here this morning and subtract 571, Christopher Columbus had not yet discovered America. It's an illustration of how young the world is, how young the nation is, but it's an indication as to how close history that appears to be so distant in the past is really so close to us in the present. Now, I give away something here. Should never do this, but I'm not a lady, so I don't have to worry that much about it. But my age is 80. Born 3 weeks after the invasion of Normandy, Eisenhower said, "There's kids been born in Durham, North Carolina. Let's go, guys." And so if you take 80 and subtract it from 2024, Ulysses S. Grant was running for re-election. Isn't that remarkable? Well, from 1944, yes. Thank you, Roger, very much. You take that 80 years and you flip it in the other direction. If you take those 80 years and flip it even further back, there was not a nation yet together. And so life goes quickly. History is a shorter thing than you think it is. And you are going to be altogether a part of the next 80 or whatever years. Thank you very much for being with us this summer. We look forward to working with you for the rest of your entire lives. Thank you.